Hey, this is Charlie, and I'm going to go over my stereo system in my 95 Toyota Supra. I've gone through everything: new speakers, new speaker grill covers, head unit, sub, amp, wiring. I had to modify quite a few things to get everything to fit cleanly. I'm going to put a link in the description that shows what I had to modify, the part numbers, the stuff that I bought and went with. And this video is just to kind of give an overview of everything, show how it looks in the car. So to start, this is the head unit. I'm going to show it on in a little bit. It's a Sony XAV-AX5500. It's one of their newer models that just came out. They had the 5000, which was pretty popular, and then they had the 7000, and this is kind of an in-between. And I went with the 5500 versus the 7000, even though the 7000 has a better internal amplifier. This one doesn't have the anti-glare on it, and some people are saying that the anti-glare that comes with the 7000 made it a little bit finicky to touch. So I like this. It's a capacitive touchscreen, so it's just like your cell phone. It's very responsive, very fast. It starts quickly. It sounds good. And if I do run into glare problems, I'll try some aftermarket protectors. So I'll show that on in a little bit. I just want to go over everything else. But I did have to modify it, the bracket, so that it recessed a little bit. I 3D printed some little side strips on the side to kind of hide the little gaps that appeared there. And I think I got it looking pretty well. Here are the door speakers, and I've got Alpine Type S speakers in the front and rear. They're 6.5. The Supra comes with 4-inch normally. I've got some different brackets that allow me to run a bigger speaker. The plastic bezel that's behind this mesh, I drilled extra holes in. And I put new mesh over it, which is easier said than done. You have to kind of melt some plastic weld some stuff back in, add studs, and get some mesh on it. And I've gone over that on my website. I think it came out really well. This fabric I put on is not supposed to fade in the sun. It's meant for like boat speakers. These are the tweeters. So the front are Alpine 6.5 Type S, but they're the component model. So they have a crossover. It's built into the wiring. And I was able to reuse the factory tweeters, take the grill off it, mount the aftermarket tweeter under it, even cut the pigtail off of the factory tweeters so that they plug in just like stock. The rear are the same speakers, just not the component version. And you can't really see them because they're behind that cover, but I recovered those as well. In the rear speakers, the magnet actually hits the plastic body that they go into. So I didn't want to cut that out. Both sets of speakers come with a trim ring, so you can space it out a little bit. And what I found is I didn't need a trim ring on the front. It bolts right into this aftermarket 6.5 adapter. And I was able to take the trim ring from the front, combine it with a trim ring for the rear, and that gave me double the spacer, and that spaced the rear speakers out enough so that the magnet wouldn't hit the back of the car. This is the Wicked Cost subwoofer box. It's fiberglass. It fits. If you've got the factory subwoofer cutout that's rectangular, it just slides right over it. And this carpet kind of does hit the cone a little bit, but it doesn't distort it. It sounds fine. And that's a JL10W3V3 sub. That's the 2-ohm version. I think that's probably one of the best bang for the buck subs that you can get. This is kind of a budget build when it comes for audio. I didn't go crazy and get the best quality speakers. I kind of got in the middle range. I find if you buy the most expensive, newest technology stuff that comes out, in a few years it's kind of obsolete anyways. But this sub has been around for a while, and it sounds great. When you do that, the cardboard thing that's underneath, so the factory Supra thing's got kind of this hollow ribbed board. You'd have to cut that around here so that it won't hit the sub, and I didn't want to cut my factory panel, so I got this board. It's kind of like pegboard but without the holes. You can get it right from Lowe's, a big sheet for like $8, 4x8 foot sheet, and I traced that and cut that out, and I'm using that, so if I ever for some reason wanted to return it to stock, I could, and nothing would look modified. The same with this carpet piece right here. The factory rear carpet snaps into that with some little plastic clips, and when you wrap this carpet over the sub, and if you were to fold your seat down, you'd actually see like a 4 or 5 inch section of exposed factory board. I didn't want to tear the carpet off the factory board and add more carpet to it, so I used that same board material here. I used the stock board as a template, traced it out, and this is just some aftermarket carpet from Crutchfield and some spray adhesive, and it looks right, and if you fold the seat down, you're not going to see any brown cardboard material because it's all covered with carpet now. Same thing for this speaker, obviously. That's the new mesh. And it looks so much better than the old mesh. The old mesh was kind of starting to look purplish, is that a word? And then the amplifier, I'm using an Alpine mono amplifier, and it's mounted right under my passenger seat. So this is the new model. I don't know if it's M500 or MRF 500. I've got the model number in my website that has everything documented, and you can look there. But the seat slides forward and backwards fine. It's got plenty of room above the amplifier. I think I can put my whole hand above it if I want. And then for the wiring, I'm using Media Bridge for the RCA cables. I think they make really good quality products. I like their sub connectors too. And then I'm using some nice oxygen-free power wire and ground. I didn't want to have a ton of stuff coming off the battery, so I do have some like 0 gauge that runs right over here. This is where the fuses are. So I guess technically if this wire rubbed on anything, it wouldn't be good. There'd be no fuse there. But it's thick quality wire, it's a short piece, and I added this for extra protection. And then this is a splitter / fuse thing that Kicker makes. So one fuse is going to my amplifier power for under the passenger seat, and the other one controls my fuel pump. So let me show you the head unit. There's a few things I really like about it. It does come with this remote, which is cool, and there are USB inputs, and it has Android Auto, and you can do web link, so you can mirror your screen, but I can't show you that because I'm recording on my phone and I'd have nothing to record. But this is a wire I ran for the Android Auto. You can kind of see it here. That's the USB import, so I've got a little USB stick there, and this is a switch, a rocker switch I added in. And I did that for my power antenna because I don't normally listen to the radio, but if I want to listen to it, I want to be able to manually put the antenna up or down. I don't want it coming on every time the radio comes on. So this is the head unit, and it turns on pretty quick. It looks great in person. We can go to the home screen. It's touch screen. It's very responsive. You don't have to push hard. It's got this option menu, and this is what I really like. You can turn the entire head unit off, even the lights on the buttons. It's configurable. You can turn just the screen off and still have the buttons off if you want, but you can turn everything off. I don't like a lot of bright lights at night while I'm driving. I have an old Alpine head unit in another car that does the same thing, and that's a very important feature for me. And then you just touch it and it comes back on. It'd be cool if it was like the Alpine, and in like 10 seconds it would turn off again if I didn't touch anything. But that doesn't happen. You have to go back into the options menu. Maybe they'll update it in the firmware. You can also use the remote, and you can turn monitor off with the remote as well. And then you press it again, it turns on. The other thing that I like is we go to options. It's got all the audio controls right here, really easy to get to. But you can turn your sub on and off real easy. It comes with all kinds of different equalizer settings. You can even do custom. And I like that it's just simple. And some of the older models, I think you can do it now with some of their firmware updates. But people were complaining they didn't like that it came with these preset wallpapers. So you can do blue, red, whatever you want. People wanted to be able to add a custom image, but you can do that now. You can import an image from your USB drive. I haven't tried that. When the 5000 model first came out, you couldn't do that. Now you can. And this is where you can set all the dimmer settings. Up here, it'll tell you if you're connected with Bluetooth. It'll show you your phone battery life, your signal. You can have the head unit beep when you touch buttons, and basically all the other settings. I tested the phone. The phone sounds great. It'll cut off the audio. It'll auto resume when you end the call. I ran my mic right up here using some double-sided tape. It did come with a clip, but I didn't want to clip it on something because it could catch on something, or it could kind of leave a permanent indentation in the headliner. So I'm going to toggle my headlights on. So it just looks really good with Stu's LED kit, the AAM BTI gauge that they sell, and then this head unit. So I'm very happy with it. I did the speakers last year, and I looked at head units, I researched them. There are some that I kind of liked, but they didn't have all the features that I wanted, so I held off. I had an old single DIN JVC head unit, and I used that for a while until this one came out, and I was happy with it. So pulled the trigger. It's around $450. Maybe there'll be some Black Friday sales, but it's in the mid range. It's not like some of the $1,000 touchscreens, and it's not like a cheap $200 Jensen. But the Bluetooth works great. The Android Auto works great. I wish I could show it to you. The screencast works. I can look at any app that's on my phone. I do find with the screencast it does look a little grainy though. That's my only gripe about it, and I don't know if that's my phone or the WebLink app. I wouldn't think it's the head unit, because the head unit display looks pretty good in other areas. Maybe a firmware update or a WebLink update or something will fix that. But I don't use it too much, and I can get around with WebLink, so it's not awful. It just looks a little bit grainier than you would think. So that's it. That's my review. In the link I'll have all the part numbers, and I took really good pictures of what I modified for the speaker grills. It is kind of a tedious process, but the end result I think is worth it. If you have any questions, just let me know.